The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to the Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations. That's forming a form.
Good evening. This is Lowe's Moore, and welcome back to the Blueprint podcast. Look, I'm really excited to be back this week. I'm looking forward. And let me say, last week was just such an awesome interview, because it was a little bit different. Because some people you know, and some people they're like with Milton, Pastor Milton Van last week. Milton and I go back when he was just a young man. I mean, when I mean young man, I'm talking about 7, 8, 9 years old at the boys' club in Mount Vernon. And it was just to be able to reminisce. And I guess you always wonder, like for teachers and for coaches, like remembering your first coach, or remembering your first teacher. I remember I was terrified of a teacher. His name was Mr. White. And, from the first time I didn't know if you could do this when you're young as a teacher, if you could be, I don't know if it was abusive or punishment, but I was scared of that guy, man. And he looked like he was mean. And I think I was in the first grade or second grade. And he one of my friends did something wrong, and he took out a ruler and he banged his knuckles with that ruler, man. I was like, oh man, I needed to straighten up. So some things you just have, you just remember some things. And then I had a teacher, Miss Sherman. It was a third grade teacher. And she used to, always say to me, don't let anybody give you anything. And she was Caucasian. And she said, don't let anybody give you anything. Whatever you get, you work for. And and then I remember Miss Cohen. Miss Cohen was my art teacher. She used to always encourage me in spite of what my artwork looked like. And I like to think I was pretty decent back then. So, so listening and reminiscing last week with Milton last week was just awesome, man. Just reminiscing about him being a young man at the boys' club, and myself and Mr. Jones and Mr. Coleman and Miss Andrea Brown and CJ and all the staff that was there. And then to see the kind of impact that we were able to have in supporting parents with the development of their kids. I mean, it was just so powerful last week to have Milton on, and then to see him become this pastor, this artist. He always had a beautiful voice, man, and just a great personality, right? It really touched my heart. And I meant it last week when I said one of, some of my most listened to music is his albums. They are anointed and they have power in his words and when he sings. I mean, just gifted. That's what the name of the show last week was, Gifted. And so I want to thank Milton for taking time out of his busy schedule and coming on the show. So it was just powerful. And we are expecting the same thing this week. And as you can see, I got this is miniature basketball, but this is my Pebble, right? And when I wrote my book, From the Boys and Girls Club to the NBA Life on the Narrow Road, Denzel Washington said that my life was like a pebble, right? That was, if you throw it in a pond or a river, you get a ripple effect. And we believe that the Blueprint podcast has a ripple effect. We just don't know what kind of impact it's going to have tonight or a week from now, or a month from now, or a year from now. We just hope that the individuals that come on the show that shares their experiences and they're transparent and they say such powerful things that we believe that somewhere down the road it's going to impact. Their words are going, their life experience is going to impact someone. And so I dropped this pebble into the pond, and we're expecting to have a great time tonight. And I'm looking forward to tonight's guest. And I want to jump right into it with the book of the week. Well, really, it's the magazine. As well as I love books, I always love magazines as well, and particularly magazines that had impact in my life, like, of course, Sports Illustrated, Ebony magazine, Jet magazine. But this, and from time to time, I used to love opening up People magazine, and it was awesome reading some of those articles in there as well. Occasionally, as I grew up and matured, GQ. I became a big fan of GQ. Not always the clothes, but the stories that come in there. But this magazine is called the African American Golf Digest. And a few years ago, I met a gentleman who worked for this magazine. I think they were out of Long Island, or they were part of another African American golf organization. But my guest tonight was on the cover of this magazine, and because sometimes you can read Golf Digest, but it doesn't really say anything. It is not as diverse as you want it to be, right? But so I didn't even know that back in the day that there was a African American Golf Digest, and so if you get a chance, man, just go online and look it up, and some amazing stories about the history of golf and the many people that have made a career out of golf. And so it's called African American Golf Digest. So check that out. And this week's word of the week is listen. I mean, for me, this is the most important word. I mean, we hear a lot of things. Like, you're gonna hear a lot of things on the show tonight. You hear a lot of things, but that doesn't mean you listening. It means you just heard something. It doesn't mean that you listened to it, that you brought understanding to what you were listening to, right? I used to hear a lot of things in the classroom, man, and I used to, listen to the teacher, listen to the professor, and then when I got back to my room or got home, I didn't remember anything, because there's a difference between hearing and listening. So listening is a very important, powerful thing. When you listen, you gain understanding, man. And that's why it's so important. The first thing I was able to do when I was entering into my basketball career, it was my ability to listen to what the coach was saying. Being able to listen to the coach kept me out of a lot of punishment. And being able to listen to my mom was so important, because it kept me out of trouble. So, man, if you can grasp or master listening, right, you will be effective, and you will be able to accomplish any and everything that you want to accomplish with your ability to listen, because when you listen, you gain understanding. So that's a very powerful word. One of my favorite words is the ability to listen. And then, of course, the Pierce Harper affirmation quote moment, right? I love this. Sometimes you got to say things to yourself. I am an exceptional listener, right? Sometimes you got to tell yourself that, because sometimes we're just not listening, right? And remember, affirmation, when you get up in the morning or quote in the morning, I don't like to hear negative things in the morning, man. I want to hear positive things in the morning. So I like to say stuff. I like to talk to myself. I'm not crazy, but I love talking to myself. I love encouraging myself. And I think in the Bible, David said he had to encourage himself, in the word, right? I like to encourage myself. I like to talk to myself because not all the people talking to me encourage me. You know, a lot of people said a lot of things to discourage me. But man, when you learn to talk to yourself, when you have confidence in yourself, when you believe in yourself, right? Sometimes that helps you overcome. When people don't tell you what you want to hear, right, about you, when you know that what they're saying is not true, right? Sometimes you got to talk to yourself and you got to say to yourself, I am a king, right? I will be great. Right. And those affirmations when you wake up in the morning, I will have a successful day. This will be a great day, regardless of what the weather is, how hot it is, how cold it is. Right. You got to speak to yourself. And so I think that's very powerful. Right. And then next we have the music and the movie of the week. Right. So last week we had Milton Van. This is his album, My Life. Right. You know, I really enjoy every song on this CD album. Right. As we said back in the day, I really love listening to Milton. If you can pick that up, man, it'll be a blessing to you and you'll be a blessing to him. And then the movie of the week, Bagger Vance with Will Smith. Right. And Matt Damon. Yeah. You know, look. My guest tonight is a professional golfer, and you know, and I love watching a number of golf movies. You know, when I always used to say I'd never play golf, man. That game is boring. But you know what? I'm a kind of a mental guy. I like to do things physically, but my play with my mind. Ever since my coach told me when I was about 8, 9, 10 years old, he used to say that after you're in shape, after you understand the game, that the game is 99.9% mental. That means that your mind is important. And, you know, I didn't like golf in the beginning, but I needed something to challenge my mind. And that's what golf does for me. It challenges my mind. And I love watching Bagger Vance, man. I mean, you know, because he got into the psyche of Matt Damon. So and a lot of the movies I love too. Tin Cup, I love that movie as well. That golf movie as well. So yeah, that's just awesome. And then later on in the show, we're gonna have some curiosity conversation later on with my guests, and so I can't wait for that curiosity conversation. And so without further ado, man, I'm all right golfer, but I want to show you my guest. I want to show you a couple of his swings. So we're going to show you a video of his swing. Man, I wish that my swing could be this smooth, right? I mean, I remember like Earl Tatum. They called him the Black Jerry West, played at Marquette University, and then he played for Los Angeles Lakers and a few other teams. And I just tell my daughter, man, he just had such the perfect jump shot. I should tell my daughter, if you ever see him in the gym, ask them to take just one shot for you, right? And, you know, I think it was last year, I played with my guest. I was on the team with my guest. And, man, I just admired his swing. I was like, man, I wish I could swing like that. So check this out. Oh, that's so smooth. You know, I can't swing like that, but you know, I really enjoyed that swing. When I saw the video, I was like, wow, yeah, that's why he's a pro and I'm not. So I'm gonna show you this next video about my guest. Let's check this out.
Behind it.
The U.S. Open Golf Championship is in full swing, and while other pros are making preparations for their practice rounds, Freeport PGA pro Chris Arceneaux is teaching local children in his hometown like A.J. Andafor what the game has given to him, a chance to play.
Help young men like A.J., young girls and boys, individuals, and even others about how to network with golf, help their businesses.
He was taught the game at a very young age, and he turned pro 10 years ago. Touring the world as a PGA Tour golfer, Arceneaux made the promise to himself to give back, teaching the game that he loves to the underprivileged and establishing the Darby Foundation, restoring dormant golf programs in local schools like Freeport High School, where AJ intends to star.
Not only am I happy to play on my first official school team, but I'm happy for the kids that are going to be on the team with me, because I tell them a lot. It can change you, it helps you mentally, physically, and it's just an overall fun sport.
And Arceneaux teaches AJ and other young inspiring pros the importance of core values, and the relationships that you meet through the game are more important than the game itself.
I mean, there's so many different layers of opportunities, but we have to be given an opportunity and purpose. Once you get it, you got to be ready.
And ready is AJ to be the next great PGA champion.
One day, that trophy will be mine. Can't wait to just be out there.
And he's well on his way. In Westbury, Archie Snowden, FiOS 1 News.
Wow, I want to welcome to the show tonight my friend Chris Arceneaux. What's up, Chris?
What's up, man? Boy, you pulling a lot of archive out, boy.
Hey, you got to research, man, and you know, I mean, hey, you know what, man? I seen that fella, man. I got to get you when you come back to New York, man. And work on my swing, man. I got to get my swing right.
Easy, man. Like my uncle Albert always tell me, just swing easy. You know, just got to get out there and get some reps. You know, with anything, you got it's like muscle memory. You got to get out there and just keep swinging it. Yeah. So before we get started, man, recently you were back in New York. You moved away. Now you came back and you were honored, man. Talk a little bit about that experience, man, before we get into the rest of the show. Well, I mean, of course, I was trying to drag you into that one as well, but that was ABIS, Advancement of Blacks in Sports, with a good man, the founder, Gary Charles. You know him from AAU basketball. Mm-hmm. Yes. Worked with him behind the scene to put this whole event together. I actually brought the same lady that runs the Joe Namath event. Especially with that event, we raised $1.6 million, and we host that event at Bethpage. About 700 plus golfers. And you see all the list of the names, man. It's truly an honor, to do this. Bring people together. And when they told me about the event, I said, listen, I'm only calling one person. I'm going to be a part of it. I'm going to call Linda. And Linda helped put the whole event together while I was here. That's basically what, what we've done. And they did very well on the first event. It was a great hit. Yeah. And there were a few pictures that we had of that event too. I think Michelle Obama's brother was there. Right. And yeah. That's it right there. And he's a great basketball coach. Yeah, man. Great guy too, man. Just a great guy overall. And that's my club, my former club too. When they asked me about hosting the event, I said, listen, let's check out Cherry Valley, and gave a few scholarships away. They did very well in the event. I mean, it was a packed house, and people came from all over. They flew from all around the country, and it's a great event. Gary did a great job putting it all together and just bringing all the pieces together. So overall, man, bravo to them. I'm happy to be behind the scenes working with them to put it together, and at the same time being honored. Yeah, and what was interesting, man, was like, what's that? What was it for? What was the cause? Advancement in Blacks in Sports. I would call it. It's the new ESPY, and he did this with the after the George Floyd. They decided to come together. A bunch of the guys that ran basketball camps and everything. They wanted to make sure that they position themselves going forward to make sure, we move everything going forward, bring all the different groups together from all different sports. It started with basketball, and then now golf has been, as one of the biggest fundraisers that's out there. And we had individuals like O.J. Anderson and many others as well. First, and you had Colette Smith, which is the first female football coach. So, a bunch of big names that were there. So I'm happy to be a part of it, and play a role to help them develop everything. Yeah, I mean, and
You mentioned somebody, OJ Anderson. I met OJ Anderson
what a
back in the
character.
day, man. Yeah, he's a funny guy. And he's a good time.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. He was actually doing the auctioning, so he was going after everybody. Oh God! But mission accomplished. We raised a lot of money, and that's what it's about. And he's actually already committed to coming to Louisiana. Also, Craig as well. So
nice.
Yeah, so we'll do something maybe next year. We'll go look at the schedule as everything gets clear, and safer with COVID. So we're all starting to move slowly, just trying to pace ourselves.
Yeah, and when you mentioned Chris, that's Michelle Obama's.
Craig Robinson.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and what is he doing now?
Well, I know he just took a role on as the executive director for the I guess it's the basketball league. But I know he's working on behind the scenes. You've been working on that now. It became official. So they'll be sending a press release on that very soon. But he did mention share a little bit about it, his role. And then Gary, of course, Gary Charles shared a little bit about it as well.
Yeah.
But I know he's always been, involved with, basketball and college and, making sure that the students and the athletes get what they need to make sure that they're advancing as well. Yeah.
So, well, that's good, man. Because so many things out there. Like I didn't know about, the organization you just finished talking about. The first time I heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's good to know. I mean, it's good to know that there's organizations out there like that that we can tap into, and we can, refer people to be able to take a look at. Even the same thing with the African American Golf Digest.
Yes, the Burt Cook.
Yeah. So I mean, talk a little bit about that before we jump into you, man.
Yeah. I've actually been able to work with the Burt on many different levels. I'm going to go way back, man. We did an event. I had this idea of doing an event at Medgar College where I wanted to bring influential African Americans together in the golf field and let people know about the golf industry. There's over 1,000 to 1,500 unclaimed scholarships that young men and women could take advantage of. But of course, the parents are not getting this information. So everything hot on the press is basketball, football. But of course, kids could have a free ride, on a golf scholarship. And it starts with a golf scholarship, basically starting with golf from a junior, into building up, going to your high school and then to college. So those opportunities are available. It's just making sure that the parents get that information, and then the kids move on to the rinks, play some local events, and build up on it. Of course, you're not going to be the Tiger Woods or it's just the numbers. You got to be out there, really putting the time in. And a lot of our kids and our culture are learning the game late. So you want to you want to be able to get the kids, get the golf clubs in their hands and let them take advantage of these opportunities that are available.
Well, that's going to be part of a little bit later on, a part of our curiosity conversation. We're going to jump into that real deeply. And so I want to start out as I start out with each show, and 3 integral parts of the show, or questions. Integral questions is number one. Let's talk. I always talk about the importance of family.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want you to talk a little bit about growing up, family, your mom, dad, siblings, and then I wanted you to transition over into the importance of education, and then all three we both agree with, and then number 3, the importance and power of faith.
Yes.
So let's talk about family.
Yeah. Well, I'll start right from how I got started, and that leads into the family and everything. But of course, single mom, my father passed away. I was a young boy, 4 sisters, and of course me and my brother. So we were 6. And I lived right across the street from the golf course. I could see the course, but I would sneak like a house or 2 down to get closer and closer to see what the guys were doing. And I was around, I'd say 12, 13 when my father passed away. And at that point, I was really going through, because I was a quiet kid already. Many of them called me a mute, but it was so funny. But my neighbor, at that point, I think I was 13. cut his grass, and he had a golf club with 7 balls on an end ashtray, and the club was behind his door. And his father owned a golf repair shop. It was called the Caddy Shack on Pinhook. And he let me have that club with 7 balls after me cutting his grass. And from that point, I broke every window in the community. And my mom said, "That's it, go see your Uncle Albert at the golf course." So that was my ticket in. But I had a little hustle with trying to, sell golf balls, as the guys would hit it over the fence. But my ticket came from me getting inside the fence because I just dreamed about getting on the inside. I knew my uncle played, but I didn't have a relationship with like that where, young kids were being introduced to the game. Mine came totally different, with a crossroads. I was holding the fence one day after losing my dad, and I cried, man. I mean, I was just really going through. I didn't know how I was going to make it. I was really feeling lonely, and drugs and crack cocaine was hitting the streets. A lot of the kids were being put in juvie. They were robbing and robbing in the stores, doing all the little crazy things they were doing. Much of the kids were older than me, and as drugs were making its way into the community, I didn't want that for myself. I said, I guess I was more of a loner at that time. Always been a loner, but it was something looking at those guys, the colors, and I guess the competitive part. I would watch them just fantasize, dream about getting on the inside. And then one day I held that fence. I was really going through, and I made a promise to say, "God, if you ever let me in," because I don't know what it was, curiosity or the imagination or the colors, whatever it was, but I know it was a magnet that was drawing me there. Just, God's blessing, man, just allowing me to get there. But my opportunity didn't come until my neighbor gave me those clubs, and I started breaking the windows, just swinging at the ball. Didn't know where it was going. I was just swinging. But I made that promise to God, if I ever got inside, I was going to do something. I wasn't going to be like those kids, And my mom gave me that opportunity to say, "Go ahead, you can cross the street." She took me there, and then I was allowed to go and meet my uncle. And that day, I never left the golf course. Gave me a little job around the golf course to clean up things, help him learn, and everybody took me under their wing, man. They helped me. I was one of the few African American kids around the golf course, which are predominantly dominant, sport, by Caucasians, and of course back in the day, about the Caucasian only rule with Charlie Sifford, Terry Rhodes, and Joe Louis Barrow, and many others that they broke in through the LA Open. So all these opportunities are available now for us to be able to play golf because they broke the Caucasian only rule, meaning it was an invitation only. Anybody could host an event, but if you put invitation, that means if you didn't get that invite, you're not allowed to play.
Wow.
But sitting at the table with Charlie Sifford, just a little fast forward, I shed tears, broke bread with this man. He shared with me all the stories and even his struggles, with his family and everything. So I would pick up magazines at my house with my mom, watch all these guys. Of course, none of these guys were in the magazines at that time. It was either Jack Nicklaus or Arnold Palmer or others, And my mom would always tell me, you can be that kid, So when I was able to grace the front page and many of the other pages of front cover of African American Golfers Digest, which is ours, and then being in other magazines, people was amazed and inspired by my story. And even today, it's even 10 times full more because I'm back home, the hometown hero, I guess you call it. But living in New York for the last 25 years, and my mom had a chance to come there with us all, help us raise our child, my son at that time, KJ. So, New York was very expensive for the little country bar from Louisiana, trying to make it, but hard work. And she always told me, hey, you keep looking at these people in the magazines, I would study it and I, just daydream, fantasize, use my imagination that one day I was going to be, doing this. I always had the part that I wanted to play professionally and be a club pro or something like that, but those things were like impossible, because I didn't see anybody like me. I didn't know about I knew about the Calvin Peets and all those guys, but I never knew I would have the opportunity to meet these people or align what I'm doing or get them on the same stage that I'm at, so that I'm able to, do so, walk the same footsteps of these guys. So today, it's about 2 months ago, I think I had Jim Thorpe come here for our grand opening. And also I was able to have him join us, as I was telling you about the ABUS, I had him join us also for the New York trip. So that was a great trip, as fast forward, Mom always kept telling me, you can be that person on the magazine just like them. Don't I mean, she had little or no education, but the one thing she showed us how to, she showed us her love. She showed us how to love, respect, and and put a smile on our face, make sure we were fed and we were taken care of. As a single mom, she did a hell of a job. Especially with me. I look at I'm a miracle, man. Lost a lot of cousins and family to drugs when the drugs were taking over the street. So it's pretty exciting to see where I'm at today. And every day I walk into the club, because the club is right across the street from my house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right across the street from the golf course. When I walk in, I look at that house. I said, man, that's where I'm at. So whether I got a golf attire like this shirt on or a suit, I look over there and it's pretty amazing, man. Just a kid just looking to get on the inside, and now I'm here. I was on the inside. Now I'm on the outside looking in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And before we go back to some more family stuff, you mentioned Charlie Sitford.
Yeah.
And he was the first Black professional golfer.
Well, there's so many of them that, because of the rule books, because of the rules in the archives, Charlie's one of the first, but you got others that never got credit, like the Ted Rhodes and many others. You got, he was just at the Masters, Lee Elder, which plays in the first time. Mm-hmm. Charlie dealt with they all dealt with different things because they didn't really have a tour. They were not invited. So they created what's called the Chitlin Tour. The UGA, United Negro, like a United Negro League, like it's called the Chitlin Tour, for them to go and play, because that was their hustle. So they would gamble. They played on these events because they were not allowed to play on the other tours. So building on that, for me, be able to sit down with him, and then Calvin Pete was my idol. I just wanted to be Calvin Pete, man. God, he would tell this caddy from 150 yards, 200 yards out, go take the flag out. He would knock the flag down, knock the ball in the hole. He would just hit the ball straight as an arrow. For about 10 to 15 years, the record still stands. One of the straightest drivers of the golf ball, and the records that he won. But of course, as Jim was just reiterating this a few weeks ago, last week when speaking to my former pro at Cherry Valley, New York, they never got the TV coverage. Meaning, if they were playing in the group leading it, the highlights always went on Jack Nicklaus or on the Palmer. But until Jack Nicklaus and all those guys stepped up and started saying, "Hey, man, I don't care. These guys are winning. Either you put the highlight on these guys or I'm not coming back." So they started making a difference. A lot of people don't know about those stories, but there was guys like Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus that opened the door for a lot of these big guys today.
Right. And you mentioned Jim Thorpe. I met him. We played together, I think, over in Long Island.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's Big Jim right there, and my buddy Ed to the right.
Yeah. I love Jim, man.
Yeah.
I love he has such a wonderful spirit, man.
Big teddy bear, man. We call him.
Yeah. He was just awesome, and it was just great being out there with you guys, man. Being able to play with you, meet you for the first time. I think I remember we played in that CCC event. It was we called all the celebrity circles people to come up, and it was a CC event with Julian Phillips, our brother Julian Phillips from Pastor A.R. Bernard. Pastor A.R. Bernard, yeah, definitely. And I had Pastor on the show a few months back. It was an awesome interview, and just to hear the history of about golf, but I want to go back to talking a little bit about the siblings and then talk a little bit about education.
Well, if it's okay, I'll share a little bit about my brother. I think I shared the link, but man, I tell you, what a powerful piece, because here, as my brother, I guess you call him night and day. I was trying to get him on the program, but he's got a program to go to right now. But when drugs hit the street, of course, my brother was 2 or 3 years, younger than I. And of course, he got pulled into it. We both were at the golf course. The golf course was our safe haven, because that was nothing. They had the basketball, the local center, domain center around, but we couldn't go that far. Golf was the closest thing for us. So when we came here, I started getting my brother into. I was a little older, so I didn't qualify to play in the other junior tournaments. But I brought my brother so he can play in the junior, like the Sheriff tournament, the Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper sponsored that, and Ronald would win those things, man. If he'd win his flight, and he was just good, man, just really good at it. And but when the drugs and stuff started, they started recruiting some of the young kids to start selling drugs. They showed him they can make some easy money. He got suckered into it, and you went from from selling to using to stealing, robbing, and all of that street life. So he's been in and out of the system, and just to be able to beat it, we were able to come back. And for years I was very disappointed with him. I said, man, I just can't believe you're doing this. You're doing this to mom and everything else. So we were able to reunion back to where we are in golf before I returned, because before I returned, we were talking about it, and he's been clean. And I thank God, for his story, his testimony. I really wanted him on the show tonight, but of course he's hiding from the camera. I know he is, but I'll get him. But his story alone, man, has helped a lot of brothers and sisters, that's out there fighting the drug habits and the streets, and it's disappointing to see, how it's kind of taking over the community. We've lost so many people, man. I can't even tell you, man. Every time you pick up the news or you listen to something, it's pretty disappointing. And I'm hoping that some of the work that we're doing in the community can have an impact to the kids and change that narrative,
Yeah. And, because I know a lot about particularly the issues of addiction. My wife and my sister-in-law, God rest her soul, my mother-in-law, they all were social workers, right? And so, my wife, is a part of that experience in regards to helping people, overcome some of those problems that they may be having. And so I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. And of course I know I've had, my father, I've had uncles and I've had cousins and, and that, went into that way of addiction. And it's just not a good place to be. It was great to see that many of them were able to overcome some of this. That's the power of it, is the ability to overcome it. And so, and then, you have, you're a father,
right?
And so you talk a little bit about being a father and your children a little bit there.
Well, I mean, I've been blessed, man, with two beautiful kids. That's my son, KJ. He's actually at my side. Actually, he's here with me. My daughter was just up here last week. Actually, this week, I just flew her back. She came with me on the 5th. When I was honored in New York, she came. That's baby girl there. We were actually going to the event. But she came back with me. I surprised everybody here. And, then I had to fly her back because she's getting ready to go to college. And actually, that picture there is at CCC right in the front.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but
nice.
Many me's right there. But of course, we've, God has blessed us. That's at a Nick game right there. He's a basketball nut.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I've been blessed, man, to be able to do some extraordinary things and help a lot of people on this journey. Use my platform. I mean, you name it, I've learned, a lot, man, on this journey. From hosting events to, you name it, Mercedes, red carpet events, Macy's, community cleanup, learn how to plant with Home Depot. God, you name it, I've done it. Hosting arts event, hosting a golf tournament, celebrity events, you name it. I've been able to create some pretty fun stuff.
Yeah, you have.
And one thing, that picture there, I took golf right to the basketball courts. That was actually the same park where Dr. J plays. That learned how to play right there. Dr. J.
Yeah.
Yep, that's where Dr. J's park right there, right on in Roosevelt.
Yeah, we don't talk about Dr. J all that much, but when we talk about great players, yeah, in my mind, he's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, man.
And really changed the game, from that perspective. But talk to me a little bit about education and on into faith, because we talked about faith a lot. But
well, I had a very interesting part with that piece, because when I went to SU and then Southern, but my first year there, I guess my first semester, first year there, then I get going to do a walk on with Coach Robinson at that time. I think it was Robinson, the golf coach. And 2 weeks later, after I get settled in and getting going, making the grades I needed to make, he gives me we have a meeting. And he said, Chris, there's an opportunity for you to do, I have a scholarship opportunity for you. And I said, I'm excited, man. I mean, it's a dream come true. This is the same kid that was looking in the fence, looking to get in, but never seen, just never seen these opportunities available. And then I get to sit down with the coach, getting ready to prepare all my paperwork for the scholarship. Then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, I get a phone call from my mom. She's struggling to pay her rent. And my heart's broken because, you know, at that time we're poor, man. We know anything. We were living on the system. You know, dad died, you know, my mom. So at that point now I started looking at everything. I said, you know, my mom needs me because brothers out there doing his, you know, in the streets or locked up. I don't know where he was at that point. And my sisters all kind of moved on with their lives. So I said, you know, let me come back home. So I walked away with that from that scholarship opportunity to come back home. Then I went to the local university, USL at that time was University of Southwest Louisiana. And I said, you know, of course, at that time, there's no African Americans that were ever playing on the golf team, but I was a shot in the dark. So I worked night receiving, went to school during the day, popping revivings, but, you know, to stay up. I mean, when the bills started piling up for mom, because at that point, I really didn't have any bills, but it was just more helping her try to, you know, get from behind because she was behind on the rent. So I made the ultimate sacrifice to become the man in the house again before I left for college and came back and said, okay, I'll just work locally. And then I started looking at options, you know, for the administration side of the golf while still looking at myself as a player agent so I could learn the game because I became good at it by promoting it and learning the business side of the game. Business administration was my major. But of course, I never had the opportunity to really go full-fledged at it because the bills started outweighing the dream in the college. Right. I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day, man. If you're working night receiving, when are you going to sleep? You got to go to school during the day. You got class. So I had to talk with my mom. I said, Mom, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to handle up these bills. And, you know, at that point, Walmart was calling me. They wanted to send me to Arkansas for management. I said, I'm not going to do that because I got to leave my mom. I'm not going to do that. And then from that point, I said, you know, let me take a semester off. And then I started looking at golf management, and that's, you know, at that point. And then the opportunity came where presented itself for me to move to New York to chase my dream, you know, of working. So at that point, I was still away from golf. I was just playing weekend golf, more of an amateur at that point, not really playing on a professional level, but dreaming about getting there. So just full-fledged to set up my family, get my family set up in New York. And then same time, you know, building up. And when the company I worked for in car sales found out that I was a golfer, they sent me out to all the events. So it worked out in my favor, you know, to be able to go to Las Vegas and travel around the country, Atlanta, with all the different car brands. I'm going way back. Saab, you remember the Saabs?
Oh yeah, I remember Saab.
So I'm going, you know, he sent me all over the country, you know, learning, you know, presenting the brand, but at the same time, I was able to play golf in all these islands because they were sponsoring a lot of these events. So it worked in my favor where I was able to, you know, continue to stay close to the game and then meeting other individuals, you know, earn this journey to be able to learn the game, you know, start hosting events locally in Brooklyn and build up. And then, you know, we moved the family to Long Island at that point. Now I said, okay, this is what I want to do. So I went full-fledged into golf. And that's why I wound up moving into the PGA. But going back to the numbers, I don't know if you saw it, but I'm going to just mention that when I moved back home, I'm going to kind of go a little for give you the numbers. The PGA has 29,000 members in the organization, which, I mean, club pros or assistants or coaches, stuff like that. It's 29,000. There's only 165 African Americans. And I'm happy to be a part of one of those. So that's pretty amazing. When I came back home, no one really knew it. I mean, we knew there was no African American pros here, but we didn't know the numbers, the history, the historical side. So when I returned home and signed the deal here with the mayor and took over the golf course, you know, really, we didn't know what it was. But the guy from the newspaper called. He said, "I hope you're sitting down. I really want to tell you something, man. You made history." We knew it. I became the first African American to hold a role here in Lafayette, Louisiana. And he said, well, it doesn't stop there because you're going to be in the archives officially. You're the first African-American head pro in all of Louisiana and all of Mississippi. It's shocking.
Yeah, that is shocking. We're talking about 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even just give you a little bit on the tour part. As I was playing on the tour, while, like I said, player agent, doing both, learning the game, promoting other golfers, promoting the game, growing the game, using the kids. I had no idea what was out there, man. I went to events and you see I'm all zipped up, you know, with, I think I was ambassador for Tour Edge at that time, but I walked into events, man, you know, they asked me who I was caddying for. You know, young man, you know, that was one event, and then went to another event. Young man, you don't belong here. And go to another event. Young man who would say to me, wouldn't shake my hand. I mean, it was pretty crazy. So it was 300 of them and one of me. So it's pretty shocking, man, when you dealt with it, because Charlie Sifford and Jim and all of them told me about it, but until you experience it yourself, like, wow, what a shock. And I walk into some of the clubhouse, the guys were doing drugs, cocaine, bragging about their sponsorship money. You know, they got their $100,000 for the year so they can play golf all year because they'll be able to cover their bills at home, any obligation, cover their tour fees, you know, you name it, they've been able to do it. I'm down to my last 10,000. I said, Lord, I can't go too far with this. I'm sleeping in the car, eating 99-cent burgers, sleeping in the hotel car, in my car in the hotel so I could be safe. Because I mean, I'm traveling, man. I'm on the road trying to make this thing. So at this point, I said, what I'm going to do? You know, I said, I looked at God, looked up, and, you know, I got out of the car. I said, God, I can't do this anymore. You know, I can't. I gotta start making sense of this. I got a family to feed. And, you know, of course, I had money at home. But of course, you don't want to go on your own whole money. You got to make sure take your family to be able to eat, your kids and everything. So at that point, I said, you know, I got to focus on something else. So what I did, I started using my platform to promote the game, develop my foundation, the Derby Foundation. And then it all positioned me, all the work that I did in New York, running fast the way I was doing it, I was able to walk right into Louisiana and basically in 6 months, just, you know, with a snap of my finger, do a half a dozen events and inspire the community, do community cleanups, you know, tap into resources that were unknown, and inspire and use my story. So it's pretty exciting to see all the stuff that's happened. As I shared all the articles, man, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna re-enter this thing. I got to go back for some reason. I'm freezing, but so talk to me a little bit more about let's see, about golf and
yeah,
I'll be right back. Just talk a little bit more about that. Talk a little bit about faith. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I would say on the faith part, I mean, I don't know how I would be able to do this, man. I mean, from me standing defense to from a young boy to a man now, I don't know how I would be able to do it. You know, I'll be honest with you. Without God, without believing that I could move forward in a journey. I mean, I had no ideas, you know, that I would be facing these things. You know, a lot of the roadblocks. It was, you know, it was eye opening, man. I mean, Charlie Sifford told me about it. Some of the stuff he dealt with. And I'm gonna share, you know, it was pretty disgusting and disappointing that he had to go through it. I went through some stuff. He went through it. We all experienced it. But he shared with me when he was at LA Open, they had people, when he was getting ready to break the Caucasian only rule with all the guys, they had people waiting outside his house, ready to shoot up his house in North Carolina. And they would lock the gate because African Americans were only allowed to go to the back. They were not allowed to go to the front. They had to go through the back of the gate. So they would lock the gate, put a chain link on it, put a lock on it so he couldn't get in. They would cut his tires, try to steal his golf clubs, take his balls out of his bag so he wouldn't have golf balls. They did everything they could try to intimidate him so he wouldn't play in that tournament, because, of course, it meant a lot, because if that door opened for him, it would open for others. So Charlie shared that stuff, man. I can't even imagine that his wife is on the phone. He's calling his wife to check his wife at home, and they got people standing out or sitting in the car outside ready to shoot up his house because he's ready to make history. But at the same time, the relationship I was being able to develop with him when he was presented by President Obama with the Lifetime Achievement Award, the Freedom Award, I was at the White House at that time, you know, for the cocktail event, and I was invited in that circle as, you know, one of the golf professional people. And just him remember me and his family, all the people in his circle, it was pretty exciting to see it all. You know, this guy, all he ever wanted to do, man, is play golf. And he had that cigar. He would, chew it, man. And he said, you know, I had to put on this mean face, and he didn't blink. You know, he couldn't tell guys hi or whatever because he didn't know who was his enemy. Because, you know, he didn't know it was so bad you know, to play golf back in the South in those times, or even travel. So he didn't know who to trust. So he had to put on this character, this personality, that he was hard as a rock. He didn't even tell anybody good shot. I remember guys I would meet at other club pros, you know, Charlie never even told me a good shot or hello or nothing. He just was rock star, rock hard face, and he was just in killer mode, and he was looking to beat you. So Charlie had to do what was best for Charlie. Jim Thorpe was a whole different thing. Like today, Jim is 72. Jim is still getting booked all around the country because of his personality. And I've been able to learn some stuff from Jim, and even the tour part, how to keep this thing going. And he said, Chris, work on the administration side. You're going to be able to do things that a lot of the guys, everybody's just trying to play the game. They're not learning the business. And that's what I've been able to do, learn the business of the game. And as like the old saying, the deals are made on the golf course. That's where they're made, on the golf course. Some of the largest deals in the world are made on the golf course. All the professional athletes, I don't care what sport, they're all on the golf course now playing golf. In some way, somehow, their agent, marketing people, press, all tried to get them on the golf course. But those guys never saw it. But today, those guys are all on the golf course. John Starks, O.J. Anderson, Dr. J, Lawrence Taylor, you name it. All that circle that we're a part of every year, when they bring us all together, we're all a part of those circles. We see all the guys in a different sport. So golf is a way that you can connect with business locally, nationally, international, worldwide. I mean, it's just a phenomenal sport, competitive, fun, family, you name it. It's just a very interesting sport. And I think anybody can do it. So I'm looking at ways now today that I can grow the game, get non-golfers on the golf course. So pretty exciting.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit more as we, slide in. I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about faith. Talk to me a little bit about when you talk about, the playing side, which is, we what we see is either somebody, going to college and then playing in high school, going to college, and then going into the pros, or good enough just to go into the pros. And we're just looking at the side of the game, which is the playing side, right? And what you mean by golf administration in regards to a career.
Well, that's two sides. Administration, like here, I run the golf course here. That's the administration side. I'm a club pro and a professional golfer. I have both titles. I never gave that title up because one of those doors was going to kick off the hinges while I was building up, developing. Golf is very expensive, the equipment. I remember back in the day, man, I had to sew and have mama and all them sew my name on my hats and everything, my bags, because I couldn't get it, just to fit in, man. Just to fit in, I would have them sew the patches on. I cut it out, buy it from the store, cut it out, and put it on so I could fit in like I was one of them. So I was faking it till I make it. Mm-hmm. That's two sides of it. The club pro administration that runs the golf courses, the local that run the golf courses and maintain them and manage them. That's the club pro. That's the PGA of America. Then you have the PGA Tour, which you see on TV. Mm-hmm. Two sides. The guys like Tiger and Jim and many others. I've experienced both. But if I said I'm going to invest into this career, I need to have both titles. Like today, I can go out there now and do it because I'm in position to do it. I made a name for myself and my history and the history of being a historian side of the game and able to be a promoter of the game. So I'm an asset to golf, especially my story. It's inspiring because I could have gave up, man, a long time ago when those opportunities were not available. So how a young man would get started would start off with the junior rinks. You want to start off with the small parts. First level is learning the game, honing your game, putting the time in just like you would do with any sport. Sleep it, eat it, walk it, you name it, you do it. And you move into that, and then you go from high school competition to college, and then on to the Monday qualifier PGAs. Every Monday because the golfers today for the PGA, there's three different tours, and they got the lower level tour, the mini tours. You have the women's PGA, which is the LPGA tour, and then you have the PGA tour, and you have what's called the senior. They call it's the senior tour for the guys at 50 and older, but it's not the senior tour. It's called the Champions Tour, which is Jim is on, mm-hmm. and maybe others like myself. And when you get up 50, you can play in those tours as well. It's not so hard on the body. Those tours are 3 days. The other tours are 4 days. Mm. So that would be the steps that an individual have to take, to do it. But I mean, you got to work your butt off. When you look at the numbers, Tiger's injured, but there's maybe about 1 or 2 African Americans now on the tour, and it's a few of them that are breaking ground. But a lot of right now the tour, if you look at it, Koreans have and Asians have kind of like dominated the sport, just like baseball. With baseball, Hispanics, they have dominated the sport. what they created was called, the Koreans created a farming system where they would train these young girls in Korea and in Asia and that market, and train them to come to America to play on the tours. If we had that same system, we could introduce the minority kids and get them off the streets from drugs and crime and gangs and all that stuff, guns and all that stuff that's happening. So I'm hoping that some of the initiatives that we've created can do the same thing. I've been able to make a lot of headway in New York. We had a camp about a month ago. We had about 135 kids. I did it 4 days free. But what I did, I wanted to do something unique. We created tennis and golf. 1 week of free tennis, 1 week of free golf to introduce the community to the game. And I have a lot of creative things that we'll probably be doing at the end of this year, next year, to introduce kids to the game of golf, and also looking into the local school districts. I've been able to tap into that, in New York, made a few contacts and on this journey. So it gets easier, when people see you, they hear your story, it gets easier down this road for sure.
Well, yeah. And then, let me say this, we're in this conversation with Chris, and he's a professional golfer. And the thing is, this is interactive. So if you have some questions, because there's a lot of us, including myself, and who love golf. I mean, I got a lot of good friends who love golf. I mean, every spring they're in South Carolina because, for 2 or 3 weeks getting out there on the golf course. So if you have any questions for Chris, any comments, we can see them. Just, put some comments or questions in there that we could answer, Chris could answer in regards to golf. And we look forward to it because there's so many of us out there. And, some of us think that we are pros. But,
yeah. I want to also mention too, Lowe's. I know you remember our good friend because we were both there. But I mean, I know it's going to touch you, man. Our buddy Robbie Jackson. We lost him.
Yes.
Which was of course. He said, "Hey Chris, you got to meet Lowe's." You were introduced me to me by Julian Phillips when we played in the CC outing. But Robbie always mentioned, man, I want to get you on the phone with Denzel, and you always mention your name. I'm gonna call Lowe's so Lowe's can get you on the phone with Denzel. And a couple of times we were close, but I don't know where I was. He said we're gonna call them, and I mean I know you and Denzel go way back, and I remember having them on the show a few months ago. But I want to share something, just a quick inspiration piece that I shared. I think somebody that's listening to this can be blessed by it or inspired. And I heard this before, and I said, this is how my life has been. We're all trying to reach a dream. Don't give up. If you go to bed with it and wake up having that dream, it's in the back of your head, you keep working at it. You can't give up. And for the people here, you're going to that job and you have that dream and you're still having the back of your head. You're working for somebody else, but that dream is still in the back of your head. You're getting up every morning, 5 a.m., going to someone else's job. Honor that person that you're working for. When you're faithful over someone else's, God will give you your own. Your dream reminds you to go on. God tells you to keep going. There are people whose lives and destinies are tied into you. Just think, if you stop pursuing your dream and goals in life, all of these people would miss out on opportunities to advance in life. Don't stop. Keep going. If God said it, you deserve it. So people's destinies are tied into your blessing, into your dream. And I remember Les Brown talking about that. The people that we're standing at the deathbed of the people dying. How many dreams, visions, things that they had thoughts of, theories that they let go to the grave because they gave up. So it's hard. It's very easy to say, man. I'm gonna tell you, I had my dream, the dream in my left hand and the white towel in the right. And every time I threw the towel down, my passion would not let me quit. So again, remember this: if you're going through, if you're dreaming, you're just thinking about it. I gotta encourage you, man. There are people from not just your family. Yeah, you want your family to be, but there are people, young men and women, their destinies are tied into you. When I returned home, man, I would not even imagine. I fought at Lowe's. I got to give this testimony. I said, I'm not going home. I'm not coming here. It's too slow. I've been in New York, the fast lane. I was running on rollerblades. I come back here, it's like, I'm looking at like, woo, it's too slow here. But God had a purpose for me. And that was the message today. Purpose, your purpose. And I've been persistent. I remember being interviewed by Pastor A. Bernard. We were talking about that. There's 3 things that we said that was the formula of success: persistence, and determination. That's one thing, you know, I'm gonna die trying from that. And that's got me where I'm at today. I've made contacts all around the world. I mean, it's phenomenal what the people I've been able to touch through golf. Who would ever think golf? Golf has so many layers, not just the part is the business side, the people, the business people that you get a chance to network. I got people just walking in today, shaking my hand, taking a picture, signing an autograph, just want to meet me. Not even a part of history because they hear my story. And this message I just said, there are people today that their destinies are tied into you. Don't give up, man. I'm telling you, write down, go back and go back to that dream and that goal, tap into this thing, go do the research, go do what you need to do to go fulfill that dream. It has nothing to do with old resources. Let me tell you something, man. When I first started this, I didn't have any of this stuff. People I'm meeting, let me tell you something. God will find you and the people will find you. People are looking for me. I remember I was chasing folks, trying to get them, you know, it's like a guy trying to sell a record. Hey, I got my record. I got all these tests of how Diddy made it, how LL. I've been able to work with all these guys. You name it, I've been able to work. Lowe's, we did some work together with the Boys and Girls Club, the tournaments.
That's right.
You wouldn't believe there are people, those young kids that you work with, all the kids that you impacted as the executive director of Mount Vernon Boys and Girls Club, Lowe's. Our buddy Pete McDaniel. Man, he wrote all these books for Tiger Woods. I've been able to meet some phenomenal people. Now those people are calling me. They're calling me now. God has, you know, it's my time. It's harvest, but you gotta plant seeds, man. You can't plant a tree in 1 year and think you're gonna eat fruit. I've been laboring at this for 20 plus years, man. And I got a lot of doors closed in my face. And young man, you can't come here. I mean, I walked away with tears in my eyes, broken, but I got up, kept fighting. My last thing I'm gonna say, remember this. There are young people today that are looking to hear your story. Your story may be you're a business owner, or you can open up a door for a young man, a young lady to come and intern. Take time to talk to them. Plant seeds. You would not believe what it would do for you. It's so inspiring to see these young men today, young ladies today, to give them an opportunity. So I've been thinking for the last few months how I'm gonna, you know, move this and elevate this program in Louisiana to the next level. And the Spirit of the Lord laid it on me. It laid it on me with the people I've been able to tap. So when we introduce it, you know, it'll probably be later in the fall, maybe next year. But I'm writing it up, you know, right now as we speak. But I just want to share that, man. There are people, destinies that are tied into you.
Yeah. Each week I always, you know, when I'm talking to, you know, a friend, a guest, I always remind them. My grandfather used to say, "Hey boy, come over here. I got a nugget for you."
That's right.
and I was looking at his hands and see whether he had something in it.
Yeah.
But he wanted to tell me something that he thought was important.
Plant that seed.
Yeah, and also, you know, Damon Lillard and Kevin Love dropping dimes. You know, you just dropped a dime there, man, and I appreciate that. And I'm sure somebody's going to receive that seed, right? Or somebody's going to see it as water.
That's right.
So a seed has already been sown, and now somebody's watering that seed. Your words will water that seed.
Yes,
you know, and I think we got a question. I don't know if you can see it up there. Say, hey, Chris, you have mentioned Cherry Hill. Do you know a guy named Matthew? You see it, Matt?
At where? Cherry Valley?
Yeah,
Cherry Valley Club, Cherry Valley in Garden City. I can't see it.
Yeah, you see it in the little caption on the right of your screen or something, like you see a little. It's like a private chat.
No.
Hey, can we put that question right up on the board so Chris can see it?
Yeah, I know Matt very well. Matt Matter of fact, Matt is the. I worked with Matt before I moved to Long Island. I moved to Florida and then back to Louisiana. I worked with Matt and Ed Kelly. Matter of fact, the picture that you showed with me and Jim, Ed Kelly's the head pro. Matt and I were assistant pros. I know Matt very well.
Yes.
Small world, man. Wow. Yeah. Oh, wow.
and you
people, man.
I think you in Louisiana, right?
Right. Yeah. Lafayette, Louisiana.
Lafayette, Louisiana.
Right outside. I'm between Baton Rouge. I would say between Baton Rouge and Lake Charles. I guess you say the word. Yeah. Between. Yeah, I would say that.
And Louisiana has some famous basketball players. I think.
Yeah, you got you got Big Shaq. Yeah. What do you call the big Aristotle?
Yeah, and then was Karl Malone back there too?
Karl Malone, Franklin. Yeah, Franklin.
Yeah, and then good friends of mine. My daughter's godfather is Kenny Nat.
That name's
Calvin Nat. It was three brothers: Calvin Nat, Kenny Nat. They're all from Louisiana. I played with Kenny for several years.
Y'all played on the Nets?
We actually was in the CBA with the Albany Patroons. Yeah, gotcha. And Kenny was with me, and his brother Calvin played for the Nets, but I came after him.
Got it.
And he had moved on, and his brother Kenny went to play for the Utah Jazz, and he became assistant coach of Utah Jazz, head coach of Sacramento Kings. And so they're godparents to my youngest daughter. So yeah, that's awesome, man. And that was really, I want to have this curiosity conversation, man, because how do we, and I'll tell you, I don't know if it was you would know more than me. That's the question down there.
Yeah.
How can we get more Blacks participating in golf at the collegiate and professional levels?
Creating a farming system. We got to create a farming system, just like the individuals overseas have created. And I think, you got to start with like programs. That's why Jim and I have been working together. We're going to introduce thousands of kids to the game of golf. Thousands. That's the only way you're going to be able to get, because you can't introduce 4 or 5 and expect one of those guys to be that's going to go through the ranks. You got to introduce thousands of kids to the game of golf. Through the ranks, just like basketball. You're going to have the numbers. It's a numbers game. The more people you introduce to the game, whether it be a young boy, young girl, they're going to follow through it. And that's something that my mentor, Eugene Mallory, I discussed when we started looking at the statistics of the game, the real numbers, the hardcore numbers. And minorities through collegiate level, you have a lot of great, talent out there. But you need to be able to have a system, some type of system, where you can go around the country introducing kids to the game, and you could start through your schools. That's one of the things that we're working on right now. I was just approached last week about working with all 35,000 kids in our school district. Which was pretty phenomenal. It'll take a couple of years to be able to do this, but I have all the contacts and resources to be able to do this, because we're a lot of guys that love golf. And we're going to start probably with some of the schools. But one of the schools basically is bringing back the golf team back to my old high school where I played. I went to state a couple of years in a row. So it was pretty exciting. And then on to college, So using my stories is pretty genuine and authentic and real, because I'm one of the kids from the community. And then to make a name for myself in the business. And I own the pro shop and the restaurant here at the golf course, and I manage the whole grounds, everything. So it's pretty cool, man.
So now, one of the interesting things is I was researching that you started so people become more interested in golf. Talk to me a little bit about the restaurant and the food.
Well, I started looking at what people like. Man, if you're doing food, they're coming, right?
Yeah, that definitely.
Food always works. I had a lot of successful business using food. I would do, when I would do home buy seminars, I would do pizza. I would bring pizza out to for the people. I would do credit repair, stuff like that. Do interesting things outside the box to bring people, but I would also, bring food. And then I was going to obtain business. I would go to some of the bus stops, with the school bus stops, and I'd have slices of pizza, a couple boxes of pizza. And that drew in the workers because they were just getting out their routes. I was able to speak to them about, getting qualified to buy a home. So food works. I use that same strategy here in Louisiana because, I mean, you got Southern food, man. Come on. Good Southern food, you know, Creole, soul food. So we did what's called a barbecue blitz a few times where we had pork steak, barbecue pork steak, pork chops, sausages, chicken, man. What else? What else we had, man? And then on the side we had the black pot where the guy was doing fresh heart crackling, and every day we sold out. And then the sides he had baked beans, green bean casserole, rice dressing, and our a dinner roll or something like that.
You were making me hungry, and I was looking at the interview, man, and it was the young lady who was talking about, man, people just coming out for the food and your ability to introduce golf to the community.
Yeah, that's one thing you got to do when you have a platform. You don't stop. You keep thinking about ways, and I believe me, I love living out on the outside, you know, creating opportunities, and which, you know, as I just said in this message, people's destinies are tied into you. This platform has allowed other individuals with talent to have to be a part of this dream that I'm in. They're a part of my dream, because the young man that I had come in to cook, he loves to cook. So I have this platform here. I can bring him in to cook. And the other young lady that loves to maybe do this work or do that work. This is what it means. This is what it means, you know. Yes, I have a website. It's called Generation Sports, and also have chrisarceneaux.com.
Yes. Yeah. And for those for all those weekend, I mean, you know, and like I tell you, this is a quick story, right? And you appreciate this. So when I first started playing golf, you know, after I finished playing basketball, it's coming down towards the end of my career. So, you know, being somewhat of a celebrity, so people used to just ask me to come and play in their golf tournaments, you know.
Yes.
So when I first started, man, I was called what I call street golf, you know, or wood golf or water golf, you know, so because there was either, if there was a road, I'd be hitting on the road, I'd be hitting in the water, I'd be hitting in the woods, and so somebody said, man, you know, because everybody's trying to give you instructions when you start out. I mean, you don't know really who to listen to. And then a good friend of mine said, hey, my coach, my basketball coach in a small college was the golf coach. And, you know, he's a pro, you know, and his son is a pro at this golf course. And so he brought me in, we met. And so he brought me and Nate Tiny Archibald.
Oh, God.
Right. So me and Nate, he was going to give us lessons. So we're out there hitting the ball. And, you know, when I'm getting the itch, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to learn and I want to keep getting out there. Like I said earlier in the show, because it was challenging me mentally, you know, because I couldn't, you know, other things I could pick up and go ahead and do it. But golf is not, you can't just pick it up and go ahead and do it. You know, you got to really concentrate. You got to, it's mental. And so Nate's out there with me and we trying to hit the ball, trying to learn, listen to the coach and what he's saying and follow instructions. So we finished, right? We finished and I was excited. So I looked over at Nate and I said, Nate, what's wrong, man? He said, look, man, when I put this golf club down, I ain't never gonna pick up another golf club, man. I hate this. You know, like that. So, you know, some people you gravitate to it, you know, and others you just like they just, you know, can't. But for me, man, I just think there's so many people out here now, particularly African Americans, who are out here now who didn't do it when they were young,
right?
But now they are on the golf course everywhere, you know. And it's an awesome game.
I had a conversation with John Starks. Everybody knows John Starks, New York Knicks.
Yeah, he was on the show.
I think he's got that famous dunk over Jordan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to go back to the video because, you know, that.
Well, Jordan came at the last minute.
Right,
so
right. They keep putting that up there, but of course we know everybody gonna throw it in because they're Knicks fans. But of course, Starks and like many others said they're kicking themselves in the butt that they never started this game when their agents and all those guys were trying to get them to play. Even Allen Hughes and all those guys said, "Man, you know how much money I left on the table, how much opportunities I left on the table because, you know, my agent, this guy was trying to get me on the golf course. And I said, I ain't playing that stupid sport. Just like what Tiny said, right? Archibald. I ain't playing that crazy sport. Man, he said, you know how much money I left on the golf? Millions of dollars. Every professional athlete tells me the same thing. Every one of them. They got started this game late. But guess where they are now? Beating that ball and beating each other. So I'm at an event with Victor Green, former New York Jets. And I'm sitting at the table with Byron Scott and Dr. J sitting at another table. So they're talking about an event we're getting ready to play at the event. I think it was the dinner after the golf. They were getting ready to play in the Joe Namath event. They were going to play the black course at the bet page. And boy, they were trash talking. Now here we're talking the NFL versus NBA. Man, those boys were going at each other. They were still in the field. This is what golf does. Man, let me tell you something. God, these guys were going at it.
Oh man, yeah. I mean,
golf is so competitive, and even today, whether you play it, you can enjoy it because of the trash talking. I mean, these guys be talking, hey man, bring your wallet here. They'll be talking some mess.
Well, it's interesting because when you're an athlete or you're competitive, let's put it that way. No matter what you do, even when you try to tone it down, you can't. You always, no matter what nobody tells you, you always looking to win. I mean, me and my wife go out, and wherever we go on a vacation, something like that, we always go play golf, man. For me, man, I'm out there with my wife, and I love, the fellowship and stuff like that.
Yes.
And hanging out with each other, man. And, but the bottom line, I want to play well. Bottom line, I want to win.
Everybody want to win, man. Listen, I got my butt kicked on bowling yesterday, man. I ain't gonna mention it. Yeah, I got beat up bad. Embarrassing.
Well, yeah, I don't bowl that often, right? But every time I go to Fayetteville, North Carolina, both my brothers are there, so they bowl like 2 or 3 times a week. And every Saturday they get together with about 15 guys and they go bowling. So I left my bowling ball down there. So a couple of weeks ago, I was there. So I picked my bowling ball back up. Now, and I go to the bowling alley, and they got like 8 balls. They come in with an arsenal full of
oh my God,
bowling balls.
That's how competitive individuals are. I don't care what sport it is, whether it's bowling, basketball, flag football, softball, golf, ball, whatever it may be, basketball, whatever it may be. Individuals just love competitive. They love being pushed. They love that. You get your juices flowing. That's the competitive drive of a champion. And This is so much fun. For example, we went bowling out with the family last night, and I got beat. So I gotta come back now. But this is what it's about.
Oh yeah. I really wanted to come home and buy another ball.
Oh my God!
And talk to my wife.
You coming back now? You say you're coming back now with a game plan.
Yeah, I got to get a strategy. I can't be just going down there getting beat because they practicing all the time.
And it's all bragging rights. Oh, I got him. We'll go. Come on, man. And they love it when they can stick it to you. To get you in one of the sports.
Well, what happened was when I went down before my son-in-law went. It was crazy because we picked up a bowling ball. Mm-hmm. I had my bowling ball and I got a little, I did really well against them. They like, man, they come down here taking our money, like that. And then my mom came down, she's a bowler, and she used the alley ball and beat us.
Oh my God.
It was just bad, man. So
talking about that, Robbie was a great bowler, man. Robbie Jackson.
Well, he
was a pro, man.
Yeah, he was a pro bowler. I seen Robbie bowl. He bowled several 300 games.
Man, I never got.
I don't even know why he stopped.
Yeah, he told me about it. I said, man, he told me about the numbers. I said, Robbie, you should be doing this on the TV, man. You're a pro.
Yeah, man.
But this is again a unique sport, just like golf. It's got its own piece, and when you got that talent, man, you got to run because you're only going to get a certain window to do it.
Yeah, and there's like we introduced at the Boys and Girls Club. We introduced golf.
Yeah. First
tee we had at the Boys and Girls Club. We also had I think it's the tennis, the junior tennis. We had tennis during the summertime as well. And a part of our curiosity conversation is that you know, here the people, and even rowing, Pelham, there's a Pelham rowing club, and our kids, because we were at, you know, I took a group of kids down to a practice of, you know, it were no African American kids there, and so we went in and we had the kids do a little test, and they tested at the same level of rowing as the kid who'd been practicing for years in rowing.
Wow.
Right. But and they wanted the kids to get involved with it. Same with golf, same with tennis. And they were willing to give scholarships, but we couldn't get the parents to make the investment of just saying, we're going to allow our kids to go, or we're going to find a way to get our kids to whatever it is that they're offering.
Right.
And so we get caught up on just, and there's nothing wrong with it, either football, baseball, or basketball.
Yeah.
You know, but there's so many other opportunities that are available to us that we do not take advantage of.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. And here's something else as the time gets short here. Let's really quick talk about the mental side of golf or sports and how important it is to be present mentally.
Well, I can tell you, man, golf allows you, just like you talked about the legend of Bag of Vans, how Will was able to get Matt Damon's head. He told him it was just you, that ball, and that club trying to get it in the hole. Just one stroke. And it's internal. So when I went out there and played just locally, just the local amateur events, I was tough to beat. Then you move into the ranks, you start pushing yourself and start going up the ranks. I said, man, I got those guys were trying to beat me. But my strategy was, which I don't want to even share on the show because everybody can know, but I'm gonna give a little nugget. You're playing me, but I'm not playing you. So I'm gonna leave that one there. Okay. They were coming after me. So of course I was pushing myself to another level because when I marked the golf course, I mapped the golf course before I played in my head mentally. Mm-hmm. And I walked the course. I have you, of course, we do a practice round, but you have to play the course before you play the course. Mm. So I'll mark it. I mean, I'm hitting every shot from the first hole to where I'm going to hit my first shot, laying it up, or I'm going to take the driver and go around the dog leg, or I'm going to lay it up and hit the next shot. I was positioning myself. While they're playing me, I have a whole different ball game.
Mm. Well, so that makes it means like golf. I always say like sports is like
their side is trying to beat Chris. While they're beating Chris, they're stopping short because Chris is not playing them. Chris is playing the golf course. I have my map. I'm playing the golf course where I'm going to hit it, where I'm going to lay it up, go for it, and I'm playing to my strengths. I'm playing everything to my strengths. I'm not going to go and try to hit a miracle shot because I haven't been able to do that on that hole. So the old saying, you got to go to your bread and butter. You can't just try to hit a shot that you haven't hit. That's Tiger talks about it. Jim talks about it. And the money is made is between the ears. That's where the money is made. And that little from 100 yards and in, if you're able to get that ball 100 yards and in, 5-10 feet in the hole, you have an opportunity to make that putt. And that's one thing too. You got to play to your strengths. A lot of guys are hitting shots, or you look at this golf as a whole different strategy. You got to market. It's your business plan. So when I'm preparing to play a tournament, I'm marking off that course to my strengths. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to play it from my weakness because I don't have that shot. I'm not going to hit a shot that I'm uncomfortable with. I'm going to play a shot that I'm comfortable with. And that's how I was able to win all these tournaments amateur-wise. And I was actually a candidate for the first big break when that show first kicked off. I won all these events in the amateur tour, and then I turned pro. And I was the first candidate to be able to be selected for it. But of course, unfortunately, I didn't get selected. There's some way, somehow, they found a loophole to select someone else. But my group was very disappointed with it. But I mean, that's things you got to go and use this to your advantage. Somebody just posted that Robbie Jackson used to bowl in their league. That's pretty amazing. Robbie was a phenomenal man. Man. Yeah,
he was on my board at the Boys and Girls Club. That's my mom. That's my mom saying that.
Yeah. what a phenomenal man. I mean, I miss this brother. I'm telling you, man, when I found that, that he passed, Robbie and I had all kind of meetings to try to help kids in the community. Just a phenomenal man. I'm telling you, you couldn't meet a better man.
Well, Robbie and I had many, many lunches.
Yeah, always looking at ways, man. Always looking at ways to help people. Always.
Yeah, always. That was his life. To help others. I do appreciate Robbie, and he's truly missed.
Yeah.
We actually started a bowling league. My mom, that was just up there, and then board member, and it was a fundraiser. My mom, we call it the JJ. They were Jeanette. My mom is Jeanette. The other board member's name was Jeanette, and Robbie's last name was Jackson. The JJJ Boys and Girls Club Bowl-a-thon.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So that was awesome, man. And we were able to give Robbie an award, and we didn't know that he was going to pass away not too long after that.
Right.
But he was just an awesome person.
I want to mention it because I'm at that same event where we first met, and I know somebody's listening in, but I have to mention his name because you won't believe the people that you meet on this journey. But Bishop Frank Otherwhite, I know you remember him from Zion Cathedral. Well, we were at that tournament, and Bishop had said, "Chris, I want you to come and play in that tournament," because everybody wanted me on their team. As you remember, Lowe's, we were on that winning team. You got to share that. He said, bring that kid, Chris. But
yes.
Bishop opened that door for me when I couldn't get in the program, man. I mean, I remember walking to his office in tears, said, "Bishop, they won't let me play. I can't get in." And he said, "No, you come work over here to Zion Cathedral, through Cedarmore Corporation to get your program started." And from that point, I was able to use that platform to build. But Bishop, man, opened the door for me, and God bless him, man. He told me, you're gonna reach higher heights and do great things to this part. And he said, in closing, my message is, he said, this is your ministry.
Yes. And I want to say thanks, Skylar Thomas. He just mentioned about something about my mom.
Yeah,
it is your ministry, and that's why Lowe's More, the BluePrint about personal and lifestyle development. We try to address the 7 spheres of influence, from religion and relationship into family, education, government and law, media, sports, arts and entertainment, business and finances. And everyone's called to a sphere.
That's right.
Right. And so in the church, not everybody's going to preach.
That's right.
In the church. And it was nice to see last week, the young man that I had on became a singer, and he's a pastor now, but he
came right through your program. That's amazing.
He came through the program. And it was awesome, man, to see, and just see many people that come on the BluePrint.
Yeah.
Right. From their ministry is in different spheres.
That's right.
It's not necessarily just preaching in the pulpit.
Right.
Right. And it's not words all the time. It's lifestyle.
It's called marketplace ministry.
Marketplace ministry. I'm going to talk to you a little bit.
I learned that from Pastor Bishop Frank Otherwhite. Marketplace ministry.
Well, I'm gonna call you later on, man. During the week, man. We're gonna talk about that, man.
You got it.
And so, as we come to this last minute here, Chris, this has been awesome, man. It's been wonderful, man. I enjoyed it. And, I don't know if I'm going to be in Louisiana. Well, I would love to go back to New Orleans and get some of those, what are those things?
Crawfish?
No, I'm not a little bit allergic to crawfish, but
what you talking about?
Oysters from from Dragos.
All right. We got to get you here, man. I would love to have you here, man. Come to Louisiana, you got to come here too.
So yeah, definitely. And again, I want to thank you, man. Appreciate you, and keep me in your prayers. I'll keep you in mind.
Same here, brother.
Let's talk.
You got it.
All right.
Let's stay in touch. God bless you.
God bless you too, and enjoy the rest of your week. And to everyone, thanks for your support tonight, man. This has been awesome, man. Hopefully again, I'm expecting the ripple effect from this. Looking forward to next week. I have Pastor Willow on next week, man. It's going to be very powerful. And then we're trying to figure out whether it's going to be a show is going to be Saturday or Sunday. I'm being inducted into the New York State Basketball Hall of Fame. And I'm also looking forward to Dr. Randy Clark and the Global Awakening Ministries. So God bless you and have a wonderful week. And I love you. And man, keep your spirits high.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the BluePrint podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.